All right, guys, welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. And this is week 2 of my live recordings that I did at the Western Hunting and Conservation Expo in Salt Lake City. If you didn't listen last week, you may want to go back and check it out, although you don't need to. But basically, for the next few weeks, I'm going to be doing episodes that I recorded with industry folks live at the Expo. Had a bunch of really good conversations. Each conversation's a little shorter than normal podcasts, ranging anywhere from like 15 up to like 30 or 40 minutes. It was a great time to catch up with some friends and a good opportunity to do some podcasting with some guys in person that I normally don't get to do. Everything I do normally is remotely. So if you want to go to YouTube and check this out, these are also video versions. But this week I have a great conversation at the Expo with Barney of Eastman's Elevated and Jake from Phorm. If you're not familiar with Phorm, it's a nutrition and supplements and kind of fitness company. Jake actually spearheaded kind of a new division, fairly new, called Phorm Outdoors. So he's done some podcasts with Dan Staten. Great company, great guy, interesting story. So I think you'll enjoy that. And then, of course, it's always great to talk to Barney, just super knowledgeable dude, very inspirational, and great to talk to him again in person. So hope you guys enjoy this episode, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, I'm here with Barney at the Expo. Brian, you were one of my first guests on the podcast when I was first starting out 2 years ago, and I was really pleasantly surprised and humbled by how cool guys like you and even Lampers and just the whole community has been about just being generous with their time. When I'm just starting out, so appreciate you, dude.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I remember it was a really good episode. You almost talked me into a Kodiak blacktail deer hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't commit to that.
Dude, I told you to happen on that hunt, right?
Yeah.
107 inch.
Yeah.
My buddies.
Yeah, monster.
Yeah, but that's maybe some other time we can do another hunt or something.
Well, good for you. Yeah, it's wild, this podcast world or the outdoor community. It takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication. You've been on the treadmill now for a couple of years, but you've really worked hard at your podcast and your videoing. And it's those guys that put in that hard work and that effort that make something out of it. And you're definitely one of those guys. You have a premium product and
I appreciate it.
Put a lot of time and effort into it. So yeah, man, it's my pleasure.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's I don't want to say it's a grind, because it's not. It's fun. No. I enjoy it, having these conversations. Because that's when I started off. I was like, even if 10 people listen, I'll still be able to talk to some really cool guys, learn, and I've just learned so much in the past 2 or 3 years and networked so much through the podcast, and just talking to guys like you and stuff,
It's such a great format, isn't it? When you can sit down and have the in-depth conversation. And a lot of the work comes from scheduling and then producing, but the conversations are fun. And we grow and learn from the conversations. And it's the best way to improve at Western hunting is to be a sponge or to be a student of the game.
Totally.
Talk to other guys that are consistently successful and then be able to implement, what they say or what they talk about, implement that into your own hunt. So it's just a great way to learn. But those in-depth conversations, I don't even think I have those with guys when you have dinner or something, because you're just so dialed in on a podcast to the person that you're talking to and to that conversation that you really get into subject matter that you wouldn't get anywhere else.
Yeah, it's been cool, just networking and also, podcasts where. So I'm from Virginia, right? So there was a fairly large learning curve. Not that it can't be done, but there's a whole lot of skills that go into mountain hunting and backcountry hunting that, there's not really
guys to talk to about it where I'm from. I mean, you can't go anywhere and try on a pack or like look at booze. I don't know a single person that can elk call like where I live. So you know what I mean? It's just like, so being able to talk to the guy and then being blessed with opportunities to actually go and film and hunt with and observe. Like Dan Staten gave me my first kind of shot, had me out to go film for him, and just following that dude around for 9 days with the camera, just learned so much,
Well, you might be the most improved Western hunter. Like your growth is so exponential. Like you just have learned so much in a short amount of time by immersing yourself into it. But I really think that that's the key, is just to be passionate about something.
Yeah.
It's to find something that you truly love, and then that's all you think about. You go home at night, you think about map research, hunts you're going to go on. You think of your tactics, how you can get better, and then constantly working at these skill sets. And you learn fairly quick by interviewing consistently successful guys that it's not about getting lucky. It's not about drawing tag. It's about working at your skill sets, working at your knowledge, and showing up to these hunts and to these units and being undeniable by your skill set. It's not about getting lucky. It's about creating said luck and then capitalizing on it.
Yeah, being prepared, having your gear, fitness, everything like that that you talk about a lot dialed. And then, going in and putting in the days,
Yes.
and that's where I'm blessed to be able to do this the way I am. Not everybody has this opportunity, but, guys like you, I'm not saying it's any easier, but if you live in the West, you can kind of jump in your truck and do a weekend hunt if you want. It's a little bit more of production coming from out east, but if you're able to put in, 10 days, and you just tell yourself going in, okay, this is going to be a tough hunt, but I'm not going to give up for 10 days. And usually if you just keep working and are able to give it that time, it usually turns out. It may not be like 200-inch buck, but like you'll usually be able to fill a tag if you give it the time it really deserves and keep a positive attitude. Just keep working.
Dude, spot on. Yeah, like experience is the best teacher. Like there's all this information out there that you can gain from podcasts and reading and from film and from hanging out with these guys, but it doesn't do you any good unless you can implement it in your own game plan. And you're right, that like the only reason I'm good at bow hunting is I've spent so much time doing it.
10,000 hour rule or whatever?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Like experience is the best teacher to have to problem solve. And even though we make really good plans and try to come into these hunts prepared, it's always different than we imagine. And it's usually tougher than we imagine well. Yeah. And so you just have to get out there and go experience. You have to take a chance on these tags and on these hunts. And you're not going to be successful 100% of the time. And you're going to strike out. When you're a public land do-it-yourself guy, like I have to take chances on units in other states, and sure, I've got my process of dialing down these units and these hunts to where I have a pretty good success rate, but I still show up and strike out. Maybe I didn't get the weather, maybe the animals have drastically taken a downturn. Stuff can be different when I go there, and so it is about taking these chances, gaining this experience, and even if it is a really tough hunt, grinding it out and giving those 10 days that you've set aside to go do this hunt. But that's how you really learn. It's spending the time doing it.
So, and on to that note, this is an interesting dynamic I've been thinking about lately. Did you learn a lot of your skills from solo hunting, or did you have a mentor? Or
solo
both?
Hunting.
Okay.
Yep. I didn't have any mentors that. I mean, I had my dad that took me how to hunt, that taught me the basics. My family hunted, but for me to really progress, I just had the passion for it and dove into it. So I am really self-taught. Of course, I would read all the books I could read, all the books that were out. I would watch videos. I would try to gather information from other places, but I didn't have a mentor that took me under his wing. It was pretty much self-taught.
And I think that is probably one reason why you're so deadly too, because you can learn from mentors too, but I've just been kind of dissecting different hunts and stuff I've done. There's a tendency in humans, I think it's a human thing, when you're doing something with someone who's older or more experienced, you just kind of default a little bit to what they say, what they do, as opposed to kind of going with your gut instincts. And that's kind of, I'm not going to say bit me in the butt, but it's limited my opportunities for growth in some ways. Not that I'm detracting from learning from guys, but I feel like you learn so much from doing solo and figuring it out yourself, going with your own gut instinct and then learning, did that work? Did it not work? What would I do here? Because there's a tendency to, when you're with an older guy, a more experienced guy, to kind of be like, well, I'll just do what he says, so he knows what he's doing. So it's an interesting dynamic, but and solo hunting can be scary or lonely, but I don't know, I think you learn a ton doing that.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way,
Yeah.
but you're right. I notice it like on the job site, like in construction. When I'm there, I run the crew and I run the guys and I tell them what to do and where to go and how to do it.
Yeah.
I'm running the whole job site, but my guys aren't learning that way. So
Right.
where they really learn is when I have them on a job site by themselves and give them a task and they have to figure it out
Exactly, yeah.
on their own.
Right.
So you're right. I think you can learn from these mentors, but it can also be a crutch. And then when you get out on your own, you don't know quite how to figure it out on your own,
Exactly.
make those decisions.
You're
And
still
so,
used to being like, oh, well, he'll tell me where to go.
yeah, I hadn't thought about it that
Yeah, yeah.
way, but when you're by yourself, you make decisions. You have to make these decisions for yourself,
Right.
everywhere you go and everything you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've done some solo hunting. I do enjoy hunting with other guys, but it's been interesting because a couple of my hunts this year, I've been with just me and a cameraman, and some of them have been really good hunters that I've they've really helped me out, and some of them have never, one, in Wyoming, the kid that was helping me film had never been on a Western hunt. So, and then I spent 3 days, at the end of this last trip, kind of looking for some aoudad by myself. But yeah, you just, it's a different level. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but when I'm with, last year I was hunting with Mark Livesey, and we were bear hunting, and I just found myself, when I was kind of dissecting the hunt afterwards, I was like, I probably could have just kind of done my own thing a little bit here and probably killed a bear instead of maybe taking the back seat every time. But it's interesting.
Yeah, and I think I think you can change that dynamic as well. It's so fun to hunt solo, but it's also fun to really share these hunts with other hunters.
Yeah.
And I can see why you default to Mark, because he's got such a great knowledge base
Right.
for hunting bears. He's been doing it so long. But I do think, even a cameraman that's a first-time guy, is I like to ask their advice. Like when we're hunting, it's a team.
Yeah.
And so if we were to go on a hunt together, there would be discussions about the decision we'd make and
Yeah.
input from you.
Yeah.
Even if it's your first year, even if you don't have the experience, we have these critical thinking minds
Sure.
where we can look and process, and when you talk through them,
Maybe see it from a
sometimes
different perspective.
different perspective,
Yeah.
right, to make a different decision. So it's so much problem solving, creative thinking
Yeah.
that I think now you're getting to the place where you have quite a bit of experience. You've been on all these
Building
different
some.
hunts. You've hunted with all these different guys. Where I think you have good input. Where now need to be an equal in the team
Yeah.
when you're hunting with Mark to get your input, to have these discussions,
Yeah.
and
That's-
maybe you default to his decision, but you need to know
But I
why
spoke up.
that you're making that decision,
Yeah.
or voice your concern, and he goes, well, this is the reason we're not going up after
Yeah.
that bear. The thermals are going this way.
Right.
Like, it's not a smart move right now. We'll be better to get them in the afternoon. And then you can think and go, oh, okay, that's why we're making this
sure.
decision. So you can understand the process of that
Yeah.
a little bit better.
No, that's good. And that's good. You're kind of helping me realize too, because when you kind of establish a pattern of, in my brain, okay, I'm the least experienced guy here. I don't know what I'm doing. But then you're right. Now, I've been doing it for 3 or 4 years. Of course, that's in the grand scheme of things, not much, but I have learned a lot in that time. Is kind of just realize, okay, I do have instincts that I need to speak up.
Yes.
So that's a good kind of challenge for me too. But it's interesting now, kind of launching into this new project where I'm going to be doing more hunts where there isn't a more experienced guy there to tell me what to do. So it's a little bit intimidating, but it's also, that's the fun of it. That's the quest, right?
It
to
is.
get better and stuff. And I think it was you actually on a different podcast that said to start off with the antelope hunt. That's kind of a good way to get into it. And so that's what I always recommend to guys is if you want to start Western hunting, do an antelope hunt. You can get a tag pretty easy, target-rich environment. You've got not huge mountains everywhere. But I'm looking forward to this season, kind of trying to put my, take charge of it a little more. I guess.
Yeah, you're going to step in the leadership role. And it's tough when you're first a leader, especially like even, I'm used to hunting solo or making decisions for myself, or a big hiker. If I punish myself or don't kill that deer, it's okay, it's just me.
Right.
But when you have a team of guys or other guys that are going with you, you're making a decision for the team. And so, now's your chance to be a leader. Ultimately, the decision will come down to you. But taking input from these younger guys too, and really making the best decision you can make. And it's that critical thinking. It's why we love Western hunting, is there is no, it's not black and white. It's a gray area where you have to trust your instincts, make the best decision you can, and it may work out or it may not. Learn from it, but you just don't want to get in this pattern of second guessing yourself all the time and not knowing what the right move is. You need to see a scenario, think about it, assess it, and then make a decision and stick to that decision, right or wrong. And if it doesn't go right, and not that you can't adapt along the way. Maybe you're on a stalk and you get over there and the rock you thought you were going to shoot from, the hill drops off too fast and you can't see. Now you need to come to the side and approach it that way. Like you do adapt during a stalk, but you also need to believe in your decisions and believe in yourself and your instincts. Yeah.
And even if you are with a more experienced guy, you can, even if they are making the decision ultimately, you could still be like, okay, what would I do here if it were just me? And kind of learn that way.
It's tough to go along with a decision that you don't agree with. It's like impossible for me. It's like we make a plan.
Well, you're so used to kind of doing it on your own too, probably.
Yeah. I mean, not that my cameraman or the guy that I'm hunting with can't talk me into a different decision, but I don't want to be part of a bad plan. So if he comes up with a plan that's too aggressive or I don't think it's going to work out, it's almost like, well, you can go ahead and do this. This is why I think it's not going to work or why it's low percentage, and try to use like this to try to use that critical thinking of why it is a high percentage play or why it's not a high percentage play, and then try to come up with the best plan moving forward.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, so what kind of you're telling me a little bit about yesterday, but what kind of adventures you got on the docket for this year?
And I got some big ones. I just finished that personal house. I had a great season last season, as I always make time for hunting season, but it was a little bit more stress and pressure on my time, and so next year I'm going big. So I've got a trip to Australia in April with a couple buddies out there.
Water buffalo or something? Or?
No. Out there hunting sambar, which is a really tough deer to kill that live in some wild country. Fallow deer, which are their spring is, or our spring is their fall.
Isn't it archery only in Australia or something? Or it's difficult to get rifles?
I think it's difficult to get rifles.
That's you. That's your thing.
Yeah, that's no problem for me. Yeah, so we'll hunt sambar, fallow deer, which I love to hunt. I've hunted them in New Zealand, but it's their rut, so it'll be during the croak.
That's what they call it, the croak?
Yeah. They rut totally different than any animal I've hunted. Like the bucks don't chase the hinds, or the stags don't chase the hinds. They make a rut pad. So 100 yards, they scrape every tree, they tear up the ground, they stomp it up, and then they croak, and then the hinds come into that rut pad, and then that's where they breed them. Cool. And so like really fun to hunt. Yeah, and right, exactly. Yeah, that's not my experience chasing ladies. Yeah, I don't have a rut pad. Yeah. But they have wild horns and palmation. They can have 20 points per side, about the size of a mule deer.
Back in the day, they released fallow deer in Kentucky, in the land between the lakes.
Wow.
Did you know that?
No.
Okay. Sidebar, but there was a snow white fallow deer that was in this herd that Fred Bear actually came to Kentucky to hunt. My family's from Kentucky. My great uncle shot that snow white fallow deer with a recurve bow in the 70s.
What?
Yeah.
That is wild.
I got a picture I'll have to show you.
Oh, that is wild.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, it's one of the things with fallow deer too, is their hides can be different. So you can see them all the way from white to black to spotted like an axis rack, and they can have all these different coats on them. They're about the size of a mule deer, and they live in similar habitat. Like it's weird in the southern hemisphere or different island. Like they have stuff that looks like our sagebrush, but it's not exactly. It's just different. But they live in that kind of rolling country. So for me, a guy that loves to hunt mule deer, fallow deer are right up my alley.
Is it kind of a mountainy type area you're hunting in? Or?
Yeah, mountainous terrain, and then a red deer, the closest relative to our elk. And during their rut down there, during their roar. Yeah.
In Australia?
Yeah.
Dang,
so I get to hunt them as well. Yep.
Have you been to New Zealand before?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So Red deer are weird. Okay, so I'm just gonna break the truth of them. Any one that you see with points going everywhere is a high fence one.
Yes, I've
and
heard
there's
that.
so many of these operations in New Zealand that try to talk you into this, and they might say it's low fence, but every one that you see with points going everywhere that's wild with palmation is grown in a high fence operation.
I've heard that.
Nothing I'm interested in doing. But they do have wild ones that live in this wild country out there. Now, a wild red deer looks like about a 5-point elk, but then they get crown points on top.
Okay.
So he might be like a 7x7 with crown points, but he looks like about the size of our 5-point elk.
Okay.
So I'm really interested in hunting those, but no interest to hunt those ones that are in
Is
a
the
fence
body
or
size
anything
similar?
like that. Yeah, it is. It's
Okay,
they're a little bit smaller than elk. They
Okay.
run about 500-600 pounds.
Okay.
But they have wild ones in Australia and in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I actually had the chance to hunt them in New Zealand, but we only had like a day or two where we went way up this drainage in the southern Alps.
Did you bow hunt like tar and chamois and stuff?
Yeah.
Did you get one?
Yeah. I arrowed a couple tar on the trip.
Wow.
Really nice bull. They
That's
live
an
in,
epic trip even with a rifle. I mean,
oh, dude, they live in the
Archery,
wildest country in those southern Alps. It is sketchy.
dangerous.
Crampons and wild weather, and it was.
I was talking
one
to
of a
Remy,
kind.
and he was saying like the only time he's ever been scared was in New Zealand doing that.
Remy knows that country like the back of his hand. I actually hunted with Remy down
you did?
there.
Oh, nice.
It was
Cool,
a lot of his spots. He spent years learning.
developing,
I was able to go with him and share a camp
Seems
out
to be
there.
the New Zealand guy, I guess.
He is.
Yeah.
He has spent years learning it. He's got his own rig out there, his own storage unit,
Right.
keeps all his hunting rig,
That's
gig
what I
out
want
there.
to do out here.
Yep.
Lord willing, my show is successful. I want to get like a storage unit in SLC, keep a rig here, because SLC is like good airport, and it's like pretty central.
Yep.
Just flying to SLC with my camera, just drive.
My buddy Rob, that's what he did from Hawaii. Yeah, he brought out his Land Cruiser from Hawaii. That's just his sweet rig that I used to drive on Hawaii. But
nice.
he barged it out here, keeps that in a storage unit, keeps all his hunting gear in there, and so now he just shows up and hops in his rig and goes hunting. And so I met him in Idaho this year for a hunt, and had all his own gear. He's all set up right. Those guys love to come hunt the States. They've fallen in love with the adventure of it like we have, and so every year they're trying to draw a tag, trying to come out here and
I want
hunt.
to do that Hawaii hunt too. But anyway, we got on some rabbit trails. So you did Australia.
Yes.
Then what else you got?
Australia. I have got a BC goat tag in August. It's in this wild mountain range, and so you have to be guided in BC to hunt goats. But I have a buddy up there that's a guide for an outfitter. So we've been working on this deal for a few years, able to buy a tag from the outfitter, and then he's able to be my guide. So we pretty much get to go up and be two buddies up there. And he has a goat tag, and I have a goat tag for a billy in this just wild, extreme country in August to try to arrow two billies. And then after we arrow those, he's actually got a stone sheep tag. Yeah, so I don't have a stone sheep tag, but I get to go on the hunt, go film for him, go take part in it, and I may never be able to hunt a stone sheep. I mean, don't say never, who knows, but it's out of my tax bracket, and I look for blue-collar opportunities, which I guess hunting BC for a goat isn't really a blue-collar opportunity, but through my buddy, I'm able to get this, get this deal that I can afford to go do it, but I get to go hunt stone sheep, man. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, it's going to be sick.
Yeah.
And then, dude, just being in that country in August, like I've done 2 trips to Alaska, both in August. It's such a cool time. Like everything's just green and lush, and like it's not like bone-chillingly cold yet. It's a really cool time to
I
get
can't
there.
wait. I've never been to BC. Yeah, so I can't wait to go there and try that out. And then
sweet, man.
I'm feeling lucky. I feel like I got some good karma out in the world, and so like I might just draw some good tags. And if I don't, I've got all my Montana tags. I picked up. I've got a late season mule deer tag. I'm pretty sure I'm going to draw a general season Utah tag. It's been a few years. I have the points to draw it, so I think I'll be hunting mule deer here. So I'm just going to fill my season with a bunch of wild adventures. So those are kind of the big ones that I have set in stone, and then hopefully draw some good tags.
Yeah, I should draw my Montana general elk tag this year. Hoping.
That's such good hunting up there. It's so fun. Cool. Yeah, so many different mountain ranges, so many places to explore, such a big state. We have such quality, high numbers. It's a great state to hunt elk in. Yeah, you'll have a blast. You going to hunt them with a bow or with a rifle or both?
To be honest, right now, my archery setup is not quite where I want it to be. I mean, it's an older bow. It's still a good bow, but it's an older bow and needs a little updating. And I don't know. So right now the plan is rifle, but I'm not opposed to doing archery.
Sorry to take our attention away with
No, it's
Sean's
okay.
gun
Kid just
drop
dropped
over
a
there.
rifle.
It's like, oh no, that's an expensive gun.
No, I mean,
but yeah,
when-
I don't
when you're-
blame you.
When you're talking about, we already talked about the huge learning curve.
Yeah.
I'm still very much learning. I don't even know how to elk call yet. I'm trying to edit and plan an entire show and produce a show by myself. All these things kind of stacked against me. I'm kind of a little bit holding off for archery. Not that I'm scared of it, but I just feel like if I can do anything to kind of improve my odds a little bit in the beginning, why not? You know what I mean?
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It does. It gives you a higher chance at success.
Sure.
But your tag is good for bow and for
Yeah.
rifle, and anything you learn with bow and during the rut can be great experience.
Yeah.
And you don't have any more money into a tag. Now, in your case, it's flights, it's getting out here.
Right.
But boy, if you could work it out, you could almost have 2 weeks of hunting elk for the same tag price in there.
Yeah.
And they're
come
so
for archery season, then come back if I don't
yes,
get it done.
and they're so spread out so far from each
Yeah.
other that you could get
should do
twice
that.
the bang for your
I
buck
should
for the
man up
same
and grab the
tag
bow.
numbers. Yeah, I think so.
I did find a couple units where you can rifle hunt in September, but they're tough units.
They're tough, yeah. Backpacking units and elk are heavy. Yeah, you definitely could do something like that. But and I think it'd be good experience for you that you can use in the future. And
Yeah.
even if you do or don't get them done, you can also use that for scouting for your rifle season. Because
sure.
the difference in Montana is rifle season's tough. It is high pressure. There's a lot of guys with high-powered rifles that can shoot that are going for branch antler bulls. Now, there's opportunity there, and you work hard, you can definitely kill a bull, and you find a bull, you got a better chance at killing them. But archery season, it just seems like there's more opportunity. You're into the elk. You spend more time hunting them and being in them. You get such a quality experience to where then in rifle season, you spend all your time looking for it.
Gotcha.
So you spend days where you're covering country where you might not see an elk to be able to find that bull. So it's a different experience. Both of them are cool, and the neat part is with that Montana tag, you could take part in both of them.
Okay, well you're inspiring me a little bit. I might have to just grab the bow and just do it.
Nice, dude. I like it.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but,
I like it.
Yeah, man. Well, I don't want to take up any more time. This has been great. Appreciate your time again. And Brian is going to be on the TV show first season, right?
That's right, man.
All right, cool.
Yeah, cool.
All right, dude.
Yeah,
Good talking
thanks so
to you.
much. Yeah, good
man.
talking to you.
I'm here with Jake from First Phorm, which is your actual name on Instagram.
It is, yeah.
Okay, so you had to forgive me because I just met you yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about First Phorm or you.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's a good place to start.
Yeah, it is a good place.
So tell me about yourself and First Phorm.
Yeah, 100%. So my full name, Jake Arvold.
Okay.
I've been with really First Phorm now. Going to be getting on close to 10 years
Okay.
here. So originally, I'm from Wisconsin. Grew
Okay.
up on a farm, middle of nowhere.
Like actual
Wisconsin.
farm?
Yep. So
Dairy?
we raised beef cattle, pigs, chickens. Ended up a few years into that, we ended up actually going through and switching completely over to elk. So we had an elk farm
That's
up
cool.
there, and then from there we turned that into the Elk Rock Ranch up in northern Wisconsin.
Is that for meat or for genetics and stuff?
So the beginning, before all the CWD stuff had ultimately hit through really the entire Midwest section, it came down to where it was very based around genetics through there. So we had a lot of different breeding pieces to it.
High fence type places are trying to breed huge bulls, so you sell that kind of stuff, like with whitetail farms.
A lot of it came down to just the antler side of things,
Yeah.
and how genetics of going through and doing the velvet. Individuals would go through and actually use the velvet, whether they did different supplements, things of that nature.
Chinese supplements.
Yeah,
they have
supplements
them.
in the velvet piece.
Virility.
Yeah, right. Fertility. But we did it was a whole mixture of different things. Just
Yeah.
someone would go through and breed, beef cattle.
Okay,
in that
gotcha.
sense, right? It started out with just we had probably 25 head, had a herd bull and a handful of cows, and then it just built out
Yeah, yeah.
continuously from there. But
Did you hunt growing up, whitetails and
so
stuff?
that's where the ranch and everything ultimately started. Was Dad did elk hunting in college, so he would go out
Hold on
with
one second.
buddies.
I'm gonna put this
Yeah.
here. So to deter people from walking.
Yeah, you're good. So Dad ultimately grew up going to Colorado elk hunting with Grandpa and everything, and I was just very fortunate and blessed to grow up in the family that I grew up in, to where he would go out, do over-the-counter around Pagosa Springs.
So you grew up seeing him bringing elk back and the stories.
Yep. And then from there, it was always a joke of like, why would you go to why would you go to Colorado if you got them in your backyard, right? And it comes down to the experience. It comes down to the experience piece to it. But we would.
Were they mule deer hunters primarily, or elk, or both?
Elk. Straight elk. The whole way growing up. Elk and then whitetail in Wisconsin. But it's funny. I'd watch Dad go out elk hunting, go with buddies year and year. And I remember it was around 7 years old. I'd be like, hey, can I come to Colorado? He's like, no, not old enough. And then 8 years old came, and I was like, Dad, what do I have to do to go to Colorado with you? And he's like, well, you got to prove that you can handle yourself, right? And he's like, you really want to go? I'm like, yes. What do I need to do? And he essentially set it all up to where it's like I had to be able to go through and handle myself, prove myself to be able to go out in the backcountry, because we'd take mules out, pack way back up in, anywhere from 8 to 10 miles in. And from that point, he had me saddle up Asbestos, which is our big white mule, right? Yeah, all names. He's the big, gentle giant. But at 8 years old, I saddled him up, packed him up with everything that I would take out to Colorado. We had about 418 acres that we farmed corn, soybeans, and then of course had the elk and that there. And I rode Asbestos back across to the back 40. We called it the Big Pines, these ancient pine trees in the back corner. And
of your farm?
Yep, of the farm. And I had to go all out by myself, camp overnight, set up tent, and come back in the morning.
8 years old.
8 years old.
That's how he tested you.
Yep, tested me. So literally, dude, I went.
Dude, my son's 8. That would never happen.
Yeah, that's why it's crazy. Like I look back at it and I just remember being like, I'm going to do this, right?
The kids are different too. I mean, but my son would not do that.
Yeah, and my dad, growing up on the farm too, like whether it was running equipment, like there were a lot of things that I was put in.
Being a farm boy, you kind of grew up a little younger.
You figure it out real quick. Like how can we help be productive on the farm kind of thing. So, but in that time.
So you passed the test.
So, well, I went out and I camped, set up tent, camped overnight, and
I can't believe your mom was cool with that.
No, she wasn't. She definitely was not. So I found this all out afterwards. After that tent was set up, horrible lightning, thunder, rainstorm, torrential downpour. Tent got collapsed on me, filled with water.
Oh my gosh!
I'm like,
you're 8 years old.
I'm not going in. I'm not going in. I need to prove myself. It was about 3 a.m. that.
That's amazing.
I went through and I was so beat up, just mad. Like I can't believe this happened. So Asbestos is just sitting out there, standing in the rain. And I go through in this like walk of shame kind of way, right? Just literally saddle them back up, and it's pitch black. I got my headlamp on and everything, and ride back across. It's about a mile and a half back to the house, and come in just really upset. Like I'm of course crying at that time. Like I'm sorry, Dad. Like just let me do it again. Like I know I can do it, right? He's like, well, you made it out there. You stayed it out and you got yourself out of the situation. You can go to Colorado.
That's awesome.
I was like, went from a very low point to a very high point.
That's
really
such a great story.
So yeah,
that's
it was.
amazing.
But that's how it went from the background of the farm piece, got tied into the outdoors. Like my love was always first love was always hunting. Like loved it. I had our entire property and everything just completely zoned off, knowing where the deer were, water holes, trails, all that stuff. And from that point, you jump forward, kind of getting into the first Phorm piece is like I went to college, didn't have school was not for me in that aspect of things, right? I was in school, went from high school, homeschooled all the way up, went to college, and found a podcast, the MSCO Project, which is Andy Frisella's podcast, very much leadership, entrepreneurship side of things. And I was listening to it while I was in college, and I'm like, man, I'm learning more stuff about real life stuff in this podcast than I am going for these classes. And I literally got to one point, there was a part in the podcast, he's like, too many of you, excuse my language, like, too many fucking people need to understand that you're waiting for approval that's never going to come to do what it is you want to do. And if you need the approval, just go do it now.
Yeah.
So he's like, this is your approval. And I was like, he's so right. I'm like, and in that moment, I walked in I went up to one of our local restaurants, Log Jam, and sat down, napkin I was going through. I'm like, we're gonna build a gym. And I called my buddy Tom.
Oh, nice.
And
so you're really into fitness at this point already?
At that point, I just had gotten into CrossFit. Like I started in like the bodybuilding side of things. Did that for a stint throughout college. Like I was a fat farm kid. I was a fluffy bunny boy.
Oh, dude, I was 250 pounds 3 years ago.
Yeah. Rocking it right now. That's freaking awesome, dude.
75 pounds I lost.
Yeah, hell yeah. How did you primarily do it?
Tracking everything I was eating.
Yep.
And CrossFit.
Yep.
And running.
Yep. Consistency.
But mainly tracking everything I was eating.
I was literally just going to ask what do you think the most, like, because that's one of the big things now. Getting into first
because I lost some weight and I was getting there. CrossFit was big because I fell into a slump.
Yeah.
Fitness wise, I lost like 50 pounds. Yeah. And then I kind of gained back like 25 or 30 because I was going to slump. I was working by myself. I was just going in like, bench pressing, doing biceps and like jogging a mile or something.
Yeah.
Like lame. And then I was like, dude, I need to get somewhere where they're like writing legit programming, pushing me, some community. So that's why I joined CrossFit. And then I started making some progress, and then I started tracking everything I put in my mouth. I mean, it's very simple, but just not easy.
Yeah.
You just have to be in deficit every single day for a long time.
Yeah.
I was in deficit for like 2 years probably.
Yeah. Dude, it's simple. The biggest piece is the discipline, like the consistency on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's anyone, and Andy had gone through. It's funny because there's a lot of individuals, even in the outdoor space, that I've seen do like 75 hard or do that different program. Like Andy created that. Right. So this like CEO of Phorm went through as the one who had started that piece. Okay. And it's just manifested out to what it is today.
Yeah.
And that's where, from the CrossFit piece, getting into that, opening my gym with him, jump forward, sold my gym to my business partner. We just had different visions with it. Had that for about almost 4 years. And then after that, I'd build really good relationships with the guys at Phorm. Okay. So I would say like, Will saved my life, which is he's an executive at the company now, but I was at a CrossFit competition and he was there with Phorm, and I had a hellacious workout. It was like this full ladder workout with reverse all the way back through. And I had 30-inch box jumps, deadlifts, toes to bar, and I was just crushed. After I remember hitting the ground, I usually, when I coach, I'm like, don't ever just lay down on the ground. It's you surrendering to the workout, like you're giving up. Right? Like get up, walk it off. I'm like, bro, I was out.
I did a workout like that a couple years ago. I'm from Virginia Beach, so like a lot of guys in my gym were like Navy SEALs and stuff.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, we were doing like a hero WOD one day, and like the fittest dude in my gym, like a SEAL, I was like, he grabbed 50-pound dumbbells. I was like, I'm grabbing 50-pound dumbbells.
Yeah.
And after that, I literally like was half conscious. I was
same,
on the ground like.
Same, dude. Same thing. Like you just saw red, you made it to the end, and you're like, yes, man, that's everything I had in the tank.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I've been there.
Yep. So that's.
And people were like, "Are you okay?"
I know. Yeah. Like it's. I mean, that's what I love about CrossFit and that community and everything there too, is like having it to where you push the boundary. Still like. It's not doing it with a crazy weight, like the CrossFit's got
and you don't
bad
have to
different
either.
stuff.
Like some people get intimidated.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, there are like chubby, like 55-year-old ladies in my CrossFit class.
Kate was 74 years old, and like when I first had her, she's a badass grandma, machine shedder, the CrossFit gym. She came in, she drove around the block twice before she built up enough courage to come in for like a first even conversation. And when I asked her, I said, why do you want to be here? Why do you want to do CrossFit? She said, like, Jake, I just want to be the badass for my grandkids. That's it. I was like, Kate, you and I are going to be best friends. Like, this is it.
That's awesome.
But like, so Will, after that workout, this guy comes out of nowhere. He's like, dude, and I'm hearing it's like almost like this euphoric, like, is it God? Like, is that you? Like, is this me going to the light?
God.
Yes. He's like, dude, that was awesome. Like, it was horrible, but that looked so awesome. Like, then she's like, what do you need? Like, do you need a foam roller? And I'm thinking it's maybe like one of the members of my gym. Like, not even my fiance is there. Like, he's like foam roller. He's like, we can do like post workout. You need water, anything like that. And I was like, man, I'm just help me up. And I get up and go around. He gets me a water and go over, and here's Will with Phorm. And we just had a conversation going through. He ended up giving me a post-workout, and I tried Loop-De-Fruit, which is like their post-workout protein Formula 1. I was like, like ground up the cereal and put it into a shaker bottle. What the fuck? What is this shit? And I was blown away by the quality of that, but even more so the people, right? He's like, hey, dude, if you need anything, just let us know, right? Help out. And that relationship afterwards, you jump forward, when I sold my gym, he found out. We had this big gathering we do at First Phorm headquarters every year called Summer Smash. It's like a big backyard barbecue, get together with anyone and everyone who ultimately wants to come out. And I came down to that right after I sold my gym, and Will's like, man, how's the gym going? It's like, I sold that yesterday. He's like, what? And from there, it literally just led into one conversation, a beer, another conversation, and he's like, man, you should just come down and work here.
Nice.
I was like,
okay.
all right. I was like, you serious? He's like, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later, kind of thing. And then, a month or so went by when I went back up home and sent me a text like, hey, you jump on the phone. And I was freaking covered in shingle dust and all that stuff, remodeling some things. And it was a cool, surreal thing. From the conversation there, he's like, I know we talked about at Summer Smash about you coming out and working here. And we were kind of joking, but like, what do you actually think about doing? I was like, I definitely would. I never thought I'd work for a company again. Like, I was always just the entrepreneurship side of things. I'd been in the corporate side of things. There was one company and group of people that I would literally kind of take a bet on, and that would be those guys. Okay. And from there, I talked to my fiance. I was like, you'll never believe what kind of happened. Yeah. And I was like, well, Will asked me if I wanted to work at headquarters and come down, move down. She's like, when? It's like, well, 4 months from now, we just got engaged. Okay. Like, we just signed for a writing venue.
Move, or?
Yeah, I mean, from Wisconsin to St. Louis. I just bought we bought a house we were modeling into a duplex. I said, give me 3 months to redo everything. Yeah. And she said, well, I guess you're taking the job or I'm going to break up with you. I was like, there's another story to all that, but we'd be here a lot longer. She did the same. I did the same thing to her a few years prior to that, and it was just, it's a cool scenario to where now I've been with them at headquarters, the entire crew there for about going to be just over 4 years now.
Nice, man.
And
it's cool awesome. How the best kind of professional relationships happen like that, you know.
Dude.
And so what's your job title now there?
So I'm a Legionnaire coach. Within the base, yeah, exactly. So I work with a bunch of external reps within the company. Okay. So anyone who ultimately was wanting to go through and represent the brand, also sell the products, things of that nature. Yeah. We have a direct to consumer side of things with that. We don't. It's very different. And I know everyone says that than a lot of different companies that are out there. Is we're very centered on education. Yeah. So I coach individuals all across the country on really working on how to coach other people and help them through their journey, because we're not here to shove shit down people's throats, and we're not going to go through and try and just a one-time sale on something. We actually want to get people results where it's like, dude, going through hearing what you went through, that's what we want to be able to create. And that's, I think about that.
True, life transformation.
Dude, it's too many people, and I think about it, and a lot of it ties right back into my family, friends and that, to where it's I've watched my mom and aunts and all these people go through these different fad diets and the quick fix, got your money and then never hear from you again kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It completely honest, it pisses me off a lot, but we're just gonna be better than that.
So was First Phorm, did they start, are you guys trying to kind of step up your presence in the outdoor space, or has it always been part of First Phorm?
No, so it's literally step up the presence. Okay. Andy and Sal, they're two brothers, president and CEO of the company. They're South County boys, dirt road from Missouri. It's a really cool, I'd listen to the MFCO project or Real AF. You go deeper in those podcasts. Andy and those guys ultimately kind of talk about the whole journey of First Phorm, but it started with a couple brothers, or really Chris and Andy, two buddies in high school, started their business up. Mm-hmm. And from there, they saw the stuff they didn't like in the fitness industry. So it started in the bodybuilding, and then it got into just overall fitness. And then you get in the older years, where people are now Big Jim, which is the Wrangler at headquarters. Andy and Sal's dad are there at HQ, to where really, it's about how do we elongate the overall lifespan and help people just live a more active, fit lifestyle, be better humans. For me, like, I came into it to where the coaching, like Legionnaire coach piece is, I looked at that and saw my dad, uncles, and family members, where if you went to First Phorm's website right now, like if anyone even listening went on there, looked at it, probably in the outdoor space wouldn't make a ton of connections, right? Just because it seems like a bodybuilding brand, when in reality is like the entire company is so largely vested in people that it's really a lifestyle brand. And that's the biggest piece, is like, it doesn't matter what you love to do in that area. It might have started in the fitness piece, to where for me, starting First Phorm Outdoors, like I wanted to create a platform.
You started First Phorm Outdoors?
Yeah, so I started First Phorm Outdoors.
When?
So would have been just over a year and a half ago, going on 2 years.
So then you're basically reaching out to guys like Dan and different influencers in the space to talk to them about
relationships, trying to figure out where can we do better. Like, and the whole purpose of First Phorm Outdoors is like, it's to live a more healthy, active, fit lifestyle, experience more of the outdoors.
Are you guys gonna move into the space hard, like full on, like, you know, with like trail packs and like really start hitting after backcountry hunters and stuff?
There's definitely conversations that I have along the way. The big piece is like, it comes down to people, right? Like, my big thing is like, I went through and I started without telling anyone. So I literally did.
No one gave you permission?
No. I went through, started with an Instagram page. I had it, started First Phorm Outdoors. I remember hitting send. I was like, well, now you can't go back. Like, or else you're just, you're a hit it and quit it kind of thing. And from there, went forward. About 2 days later, I got confronted by one of the execs of the company, and it was, I'll never forget it. Ryan Riggle comes up, and he was like, my boss's boss kind of thing, and he's like, hey, did you start First Phorm Outdoors? He's like, yep. He's like, with a purpose kind of thing? I was like, yep. He's like, all right, and just turned away and walked away. I was like, whoa. All right, I like get up. I was like, all right. I walked into his office. I'm like, is everything okay? I was like, good. He's like, yep. Facebook just contacted us and wanted to know if it was like a legit thing or not. And I was like, all right.
Because I mean, it is a somewhat of a line in the sand. I mean, when you say, okay, we're gonna align ourselves with the outdoor industry, you know, there's a certain crowd that you disalign yourself with just instantaneously.
Well, and that's the big. That's where I would challenge it. Like, that's my big piece. And there'll always be. I'm not going to make everyone happy.
Of course.
Right. But within the entire ecosystem of First Phorm, because we have a lot of people on the outside who don't know hunting. They don't understand it. They don't get it.
Well, it's kind of cool, the crossover you're starting to see. I mean, you see like Cam Haines on Mind Pump podcast.
100%.
And stuff like that, you know, and guys like Dan, and I mean, such a huge part of my life transformation and fitness. And the reason I was able to keep that discipline up was because I had a hunt booked in Alaska with my buddy who's ex-Navy Special Warfare. And I'm like, dude, I have to train my butt off or I'm gonna die.
Well, it's not, and that's where I look at it, like,
having a goal is big.
Dude, 100%. My dad, when we used to go, when we were younger in that, it's like 3 weeks out, and all of a sudden be like, all right, got to get ready for hunting season. And we go out and, all right, start running a trail.
If you're just training just to train, like, dude, you'll lose steam quick.
And it would always hurt. It always sucked, to where it's like, in the outdoor side of it is, the products we use, like, and I'll always go through and talk about, is like, it's whole foods first. At the end of the day, track your food. Hit it, like, supplements are tools, and that's the big piece, is like, they're nothing more than to fill gaps in where maybe we are struggling, right? And
dude, I've been eating restaurant food for like way too long, dude. So I'm kind of scared about this workout tomorrow.
Hey, it'll be good. We're gonna have some fun with it. I think so. That's.
Are you guys gonna go full on like hunting macho and kill each other, or like is it gonna be okay?
I don't know. Friggin' Dan is going through and like playing, like, he's like, so how much you squatting right now, or like, what was your heaviest squat?
Oh, Dan's writing it.
No, I don't know if he's right. I don't know who's writing it. He's just like picking things out. I was like, Dan, you've seen some of like the best of the best of like what I've had kind of thing. Easy.
I have done a CrossFit workout with Brian Call.
Okay.
I was at his place doing some work with him last year, and it was during the Open. And I was like, hey, let's go. And like we went, and it was definitely different doing it at 5,000 feet when I'm used to 0 feet elevation.
Oh yeah, that'll add
5,000 is not much, but I mean, you can tell the difference.
Oh, 100%. That was like when I went from literally Wisconsin, moved down to St. Louis.
Yeah.
The humidity in
that.
Yeah. I did a workout and I was like, I could almost black out with all the humidity side of things to it. Yeah, it was rough. So.
Well, dude, I want to continue talking more. I got another podcast lined up, but I want to give people just kind of like I want to get to know you a little bit. Just give a little intro. Maybe we could link up down the road and do like a full, full podcast.
No, that'd be awesome.
But I'm glad I'm glad you took that initiative to like step into the outdoor industry. It's cool to see, and I hope you guys do really well. So where can people like find First Phorm if they want to find out more stuff?
That they can. I mean, definitely find me at Jake from First Phorm, right?
Yeah.
Normally blue jeans, not khakis, which is funny because I'm wearing more of like a khaki color today. I was like, shit, I'm gonna get shit for that. Jake from First Phorm, First Phorm Outdoors on Instagram, and then First Phorm Outdoors on Facebook, and we do have like our private Facebook group, which is like really just the community on the back side of it, to where showing more behind the scenes stuff, different contests, things that we're ultimately gonna have.
Cool, man.
So,
It's great talking to you a little bit, dude.
Hell yeah.
We'll have to connect again
Appreciate it.
in the future. Yeah.
Hell yeah, I'm down for it.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.